Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are doing part 8 of the Secret Stitches Cal 2021, the Palm Springs Granny Square. You will love this pattern so much. It is a super simple one-row repeat, and it's really easy to remember. I'll show you how I do that towards the end of the video. If you'd like a written pattern to go along with this tutorial, it's available over on my website, secretyarnery.com. You can use the same yarn as you have for your other squares, or the same yarn in a different color like I'm doing for this tutorial here. I will be using Savor from Ice Yarns. You'll also need a hook, whatever hook you've been using for your other squares. I'll be using a 6mm clover hook. You'll also need a needle for sewing in your ends later, and 7 stitch markers. That's just to keep track of working into your chain. If you don't have stitch markers, you can use paper clips or bobby pins or nothing at all. This is just an easy way to work into your chain and make sure your count is correct. And you'll also need a pair of scissors. So let's get started. So get your stitch markers handy, and your hook and your yarn. I'm going to start by making a slip knot any which way that you normally do. Shrink that down and put it onto your hook and chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can see your pretty little V's of your chain. We want to roll that chain to the side, and we're going to be working into our back loops for this pattern. So your back loops are these little camel bumps on the back side of your chain, and we're going to work into the very first one, which is right underneath our working yarn, right here. So that is where we're going to put our first stitch marker. So pop your first stitch marker into that back loop, that little camel bump sticking up, and we're going to do that 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's our chain 6. Rolling your chain over to find that back loop right underneath your working yarn. And we're going to pop in a stitch marker. Just like that. So now keep going, doing a chain 6 and putting in a stitch marker until all of your stitch markers are used up, or you have chained 42. So there is my chain 42. I've used all 7 stitch markers. And now we're going to chain 3. So that'll be a total of 45 chains, just like that. Now we're going to work into our back loops at the back of our chain. If that's difficult, you can work into the front, but it looks nicer working into the back, and they're easy to see. The first back loop is right here underneath your working yarn, right there. There's number 1, and all the way along we're going to work into the 4th chain, which is right where that stitch marker is. So wrap your yarn and go right into that 4th chain where the stitch marker is and make 1 double crochet. Just like that. You can pop out that stitch marker if it's going to be in your way. So now we're going to skip 4 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to work into the 5th chain, and that is the one right before the stitch marker. So we're going to work into the chain before the stitch marker, or our 5th chain, right here, and we're going to make a V. So 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Just like that. And now into the chain with our stitch marker. We're going to do the same thing and pop out that stitch marker if it's going to be in your way. Wrap your yarn and make 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 more double crochet into the same stitch. So that is our very first little palm frond right there. And now we're going to skip 4 chains again and work into the 5th, and that's the one right before our stitch marker, the 5th chain. So wrap your yarn and into the 5th chain, or the chain right before your stitch marker, go in and make another V. So 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. just like that, into the next stitch where our stitch marker is. Again, you can pop that stitch marker out if it's going to be in your way. Wrap your yarn and make another V, so that is 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Just like that. And we're going to keep doing that all the way along our chain. So skipping 4 and working into the 5th stitch, or the stitch right before our stitch marker. We'll go in and make a V. V's are 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch where our stitch marker is, we'll make another V, so 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. All into the very same stitch, right where that stitch marker is. Just like that. And now we're going to keep going, working all the way along, skipping 4 chains and working into the 5th, the one right before the stitch marker, if you're using stitch markers. So skip 4 and into the 5th. So now we're at the end of our chain. So we're just going to skip along and make our 2 double crochets into the very last stitch. So this very last back loop right here, right on top of that knot. We want to do 2 double crochets. There's 1 and 2. So that finishes row 1. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and turn your work. To turn your work, slide your hand underneath your working yarn, grab your work, and bring it back through. And that will have it turn nicely so we can work into your chain nicely at the end of the next row. So wrap your yarn into that very first stitch, right where that chain 3 started, right here. We're going to go in and make 1 double crochet. And now we're going to be looking for our center stitches, or our trees. And the trees are the center double crochets, so not the ones on an angle, not the trees laying down. We want to just work into the 2 trees in the middle of our palm, just the 2 sticks going up. Both of those are our trees, and that's where we're going to be working in for the entire pattern. Just these 2 center double crochets. So find those 2 center double crochets, the sticks that are going up, those are our trees, and work into the first one with a V. So every tree gets a V. Put your hook in and make 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Into the next tree, the next stitch right here, we'll do the same thing. Put a V, so 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Jump over to the next little palm tree over there. Find the center 2 sticks, the 2 trees. We're going to make a V. So 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet into the very same stitch. Into the next stitch, our second tree right here, we're going to go in and make another V. So 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Jump over to your next little leaf, your next palm, find the center 2 sticks, the 2 trees, and into the very first tree, we're going to put a V. So a V into the tree, that first double crochet that's up and down, and make 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch, the same thing, 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Just like that. So find your next center pair, your next 2 trees, and into the first tree, make a V. So 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Into the next tree right there, the next stitch, another V, so 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. So it's looking like that so far. Find the next center stitches, the next 2 double crochets that are standing up. Those are our trees. So into the first tree, a V. V's are 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch, the next tree, another V, 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. And again, into the very last leaf, find the center 2 sticks, the 2 trees. Into the first tree, 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch, the next tree, our last V, so 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet. Now we're at the end of our row. We're going to look for the top of that chain 3. So it looks like this so far, and we're going to work into the top of our chain 3. So that is our double crochet right there. That's the top of our double crochet, so we're ignoring that stitch. We're working into the next one right here. That is the top of our chain 3. We want to make sure we get 2 strands of that stitch on the top of our hook. So into the top of the chain 3, we're going to make 2 double crochets to finish the row. There's 1 and 2. And that finishes row 2. So now pause the video and keep working your way along until you have completed 20 rows. So to start the last row, chain 1 and turn your work. Into our very first stitch, right here, we make 1 single crochet. So put your hook in and 1 single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now we're still going to work into our trees, those center double crochets, but we're going to do single crochets for this row. So put your hook into the first tree and make 1 single crochet, and into the second tree, 1 single crochet. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Find your next 2 trees, 1 double crochet into the first, and 1 double crochet into the second. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Find your next 2 trees, 1 single crochet into the first, 1 single crochet into the second, and chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Find your next 2 trees, 1 single crochet into the first, 1 single crochet into the second, and chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're just going to keep going like this all the way along until we reach the end of our row. And at the end, we're just going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now into the top of our chain 3, we're going to do our last single crochet. And chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. Sew in your tails and you're finished. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And if you're on Instagram, you can always find me at Secret Yarnery, or Facebook, The Secret Yarnery. So have a super great day. We'll see you in the next video, and stay hooked.